Hi, I'm Joe Lowry Jr. This is Cale and we're with Lowry Financial Advisors, and we're going to talk to you a little bit today about how do you determine the appropriate amount of life insurance for someone.
A little dry, but I'm happy to discuss because this is an important topic that many people struggle with.
Yep. It can definitely be confusing, and there are several important factors to consider when you're thinking about how much insurance you should own, including outstanding debts, future goals, and the need to replace lost income.
That makes sense. Do you have any examples of those?
Yeah, let's start with the outstanding debts. Many people have a mortgage or other debt items that if something happens to them, they'd like to see taken care of, or at least that their family would have the ability to pay those debts off if necessary. So having enough insurance to pay for that is kind of step one.
Okay, and what about future expenses?
Yeah, so that could include college tuition for children, maybe some other goal that you have that you weren't planning to fund yet, but that will take place in the future, a wedding, something along those lines. Now, Cale, what can you tell us about income replacement?
Income replacement is one of the most important considerations. If a spouse passed away and that income goes away, that would be very devastating to the family. And a general rule of thumb is to get an insurance amount that's 10 to 12 times the income amount that's being replaced.
And then once that sum is paid out, you can determine the best way to put that money to work, because in many cases that income has to be provided over many, many years, sometimes even decades.
So that makes sense. So what is a good starting point to determine what amount you would need?
Well, it's a little bit of a math problem. We look at what are those outstanding debts, what's the present amount of those future needs. We can estimate, for example, how much it would cost to put a child through college. And then we add that income replacement amount to it. And that's the sum, at least a good starting point for a sum that you would need for insurance.
There are other things to consider, like charitable goals or transferring a business to children, things of that nature.
And a lot of the time, term insurance can be the most appropriate and cost-effective way to handle that need, especially because over time, hopefully, those debt items diminish. You've been able to accumulate more savings. So the need for insurance, in many cases, declines over time. Where the need for insurance is permanent, that's where other kinds of coverage might make more sense.
That's good advice. The issue isn't too complicated, but having somebody to discuss it is a good idea.
Yes, of course, we think it's important and helpful to meet with a financial advisor, someone like Cale or myself or Joe Sr., who can help you make these decisions about how much you should have. There can be emotion tied into these decisions, and we've never had a surviving spouse feel like their loved one had too much insurance. Theoretically, of course, that's a possibility, but it's very helpful to leave your loved ones in good shape. So please remember, this video is for educational purposes only and should not be considered an offer or recommendation to buy or sell security or investment product. You should always consult with your financial advisor before making any important financial decision, or tax or legal advisor. So anyway, until next time, I'm Joe. This is Cale.
Thank you for making it this far.
Exactly. That's great.